Part 55. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 542. Kanzaki Middle School was eerily quiet at night. Yilin's figure was thin, lurking in the night sky like a ghost. While Oda Mai and Su Jingjing were investigating the school archives, he had already walked around the entire campus several times, including that weird lake. But after visiting the lake, Yilin did not dare to go into the water, for fear that if something happened to her, her teammates would not be taken care of. The scope of Kanzaki Middle School is a bit exaggerated. Yilin's current perception range, at maximum power, is only close to 300 meters. It sounds like Yilin's range of perception is very large, but compared with the area of Kanzaki Middle School, it is undoubtedly a toothpick and powerless. Moreover, the perception at maximum power is very rough and can only be used for rough measurements without confirming the details of the object. Xiaohong. Noob. There was a flash of light in the sky. Little Red and Little White make their debut. Arrive. Meet the master. After Nai Hongxiu came out of the world of Auranos, Yilin lost her temper for a while because of what she did in the world of Auranos. But now that Yilin is deeply involved in the strange Avernite level trial, she has also become more obedient. Her temperament is as quiet and cold as before, and she no longer makes noises. With the help of the vision of the two spirits, Yilin saw the school more clearly from another angle. Kanzaki Middle School at night doesn't look weird on the surface. But it was this ultimate calmness that made Yilin feel uneasy. What humans fear is not the apparent terror, but the unknown. This current trial is full of unknowns. That's why Yilin felt uneasy. No. Is it hidden underground? After checking around, Yilin opened her eyes, frowned and murmured. But what exactly is a box? According to the usual characteristics of urine in trials, this box will never really be in the shape of a box. But after searching throughout the school, nothing obviously strange was found. Unless, it's hidden underground. Yilin had discovered not long ago that there was an old sewer system underground under Kanzaki Middle School. Some of the pipes have long been abandoned, and the roads inside are more complicated than a maze. Yilin's perception cannot fully penetrate into the deeper structures. Want to go down? Yilin turned around and glanced at Bai Xiaoai and Nai Hongxiu, who were floating side by side. If it is normal. He had already decisively asked the two incorporeal little mother spirits to explore the world before talking about it. But this time, even Yilin couldn't explain why, he hesitated. Perhaps it's because the relationship with the two mother spirits is getting better day by day. Or maybe there are other deeper reasons. Or perhaps it was the uneasiness that had been lingering in Yilin's chest since entering the trial. Yilin didn't have much confidence. Besides, before she understands the true nature of Pandora's box and understands the dangers involved, even if Yilin really finds the box accidentally, Yilin will not rashly touch Pandora's box. To be the first person to seek death. Not long ago, Yilin also received similar information to Su Anjing. While Su Anjing and other team members were burning the midnight oil in the archives room, frantically searching for information, Su Anjing also took the time to report the information she learned to Yilin in a timely manner. It seems that once their investigation got bogged down, there was no progress. There will be people behind the scenes urging them to investigate related disappearance cases. 50 apostles, 50 missing cases, all related to the box. But Emperor Wang Tian is a dog, what does it have to do with the dog? Yilin always felt that every time a dog entered the trial, it would become weird. After thinking for a while, Yilin couldn't help but smile. Currently, the relationship between the 10 teams has not reached that level of tension. However, each team seems to be hiding their own unique information. It does not seem to be that easy to get it out of their mouths. At this moment, the dog is lying in the warm kennel, sleeping soundly, being a quiet dog. It seems that among so many people, the dog is the most idle and has nothing to do. Ignore the dog for now. Huh? He is. Just as Yulin was floating in the sky above Kanzaki Middle School, consuming his spiritual energy and doing nothing, he saw a somewhat familiar figure rushing across the campus and rushing out of the school. He was Kudo Shinji's teammate. When the Power Side Apostle jumped to his death, he arrived at the scene immediately, appeared on the rooftop, and met Yulin. Is it him, Jobuken? What is he doing out of school now? Yulin's heart moved. As she waved her hands, Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoi looked slightly dissatisfied and disappeared from Yulin's side. Yulin maintained the skill of following like a shadow and landed on the ground, quietly following behind Jobuken. Jobuken didn't notice Yulin's following either. In fact, with Yulin's current stealth level, it would be hell if Jobuken could really discover Yulin. No one knows stealth better than Yulin, and it's not just words. Jobuken looked solemn and walked directly through the gate of Kanzaki Middle School as if there was no one else around him, and walked quickly outside the school. Yulin sent a message to Oda Mai and Su Jingjing at the same time, telling them that she had something to do and left Kanzaki Middle School and asked them to pay attention to their own safety. Yulin followed. While passing by the security booth, there was no one inside. Get off work. Yulin was a little cautious. After releasing his senses and confirming that there was no one inside, he frowned slightly, but because Jobuken was walking very fast, Yulin did not stop and left the school. Currently, it's close to early morning. The gloomy night was dim and lightless. There were very few pedestrians on the road. Taking advantage of the darkness, Yulin walked easily without any pressure. Jobuken did not delay all the way and ran at a champion speed of 100-meter sprint. Only then did Yulin confirm that Jobuken was a melee apostle who was more agile. Jobuken ran all the way to the police station in Kanzaki City. Yulin saw from a distance that three figures walked out of the shadows near the police station and successfully contacted Jobuken. Oh, it's them. Dark place. Yulin squinted her eyes and saw clearly the three people who were connecting with Jobuken, and she immediately understood what happened. Kudo Shinji, Chu Yalian, Chen Xiaoxiao. It seems that the three teams were kicked out by Yulin because they were in the main mission one at the same time, so they chose to act together temporarily. The four of them communicated in low voices in the distance. Chu Yalian and Chen Xiaoxiao were smiling. Kudo Shinji's expression was solemn, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Yulin waited in the distance for a moment. The four of them seemed to have finished communicating. Jobuken took out his right hand in the void. The light of the crushed card flashed, and a prop appeared in Jobuken's hand. Yulin decisively moved closer. He was confident in his stealth skills. Jobuken was seen holding a hollow circle, placing it on his right eye, and looking into the police station. After a few seconds, Jobuken nodded. There are people on night watch inside, 6 of them. They all seem to be asleep. Chu Yalian and Chen Xiaoxiao didn't know the function of Jobuken's prop, but when he said this, the two women guessed it at the same time, and their expressions suddenly changed. Chu Yalian quickly covered her chest, and Chen Xiaoxiao covered her lower body. After a while, they felt something was wrong, so they spread out a hand and covered one area each. Chen Xiaoxiao spat and cursed, "Dirty stuff, how can it be seen through?" Chu Yalian was also angry, "Even if you want to see it, it's not impossible. But I'm twice as big as the others, and one is as big as the others, you have to pay more." Jobuken's face turned cold. He was regarded as a pervert by the two women. He was so angry that his ears were smoking. He threw the circle into Chu Yalian's hand. "It's just a way to detect the number of people and the number of people through the wall. It's just a gadget for positioning, not as exaggerated as perspective." Chu Yalian and Chen Xiaoxiao looked at the props thrown by Jobuken. At first glance, it turned out to be a rare gadget. As many people spent money playing the Heartbeat 10 in the Wishing Fountain, There were also many functional and practical props circulating in the circle, but they did not have much impact on combat effectiveness. Not much impact. After Chu Yalian saw the attributes clearly, he breathed a sigh of relief, put down his hand covering the important point, threw the circle back into Zhou Buchan's hand, changed the topic, looked at Kudo Shinji, and asked, "First, don't talk about this, Kudo, you said you might find important clues tonight, but what the hell is that? What are you doing at the police station?" Chen Xiaoxiao also frowned and added, "Don't forget that the initial prompt of the mission said that you should be careful in your words and actions. Although our current actions are not dangerous on the surface, they obviously do not fall into the category of be careful in your words and actions within the scope of this. If you don't give me a reasonable reason, Yalian, and I will not be fooled by you." The two women now questioned Kudo Shinji's tone and expression. It's very similar to the scene in a world-famous painting where the mistress and the wife accidentally bump into each other and question the scumbag at the same time. Kudo Shinji hesitated to speak. After a while, he sighed softly, "I don't know how to explain it, but if this matter is clarified, it will definitely be of great help to us in interpreting the world view." At this time, Zhou Buchan, who was almost unjustly accused of being a pervert but finally cleared his name, silently took out two claw knives that didn't look very good and sharpened them against each other several times. Zhou Buchan smiled coldly and looked at Kudo Shinji, "Captain, if you don't want to say it, how about I tell them for you?" "You?" Kudo Shinji expressed surprise at Zhou Buchan's sudden rebellious attitude. Seeing the change in Kudo Shinji's expression, Zhou Buchan confirmed his thoughts and sneered, "Although Ban Chen and I are not familiar with each other, I have no intention of avenging him. But I don't want to be ordered by you without any reason. In the end, I accidentally ended up with the same fate as Ban Chen." Kudo Shinji pushed his glasses hard, pursed his lips, and said nothing. Zhou Buchan added, "Maybe they don't know, but I already felt strange when I was on the rooftop. Why after Ban Chen died?" Yilin, who was listening openly in the dark, only then found out that the first unlucky guy who jumped off the building and died tragically was called Ban Chen. At this moment, the secret that Zhou Buchan was about to tell had not yet been revealed. Boom. 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 Ah! Help! Monster! Yazudi! What is that? Shoot! Shoot! Call for reinforcements! Hoo ho ho ho! In the dark police station, the lights suddenly came on. Screams, gunshots, collisions, and weird sounds came from the police station. In an instant, the expressions of the four people who were in a vague confrontation in front of the police station changed at the same time. Yilin was even more decisive. Originally, they planned to follow Kudo and the others and fish in troubled waters. But after sensing that something had happened in the police station, Yilin did not hesitate and directly activated Shadow Kill from a distance, turning into a shadow and quickly sliding past the four people, entering the police station faster than them. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 543. From the time when the screams came out until Yilin activated Shadow Kill, transformed into a shadow and entered the police station, it only took a few dozen seconds. But in these tens of seconds, the police station shouted Yazudi and help loudly, like a candle that was extinguished by a slap, and it stopped abruptly in a short time. The thick smell of blood, mixed with gunpowder smoke, filled the police station. Kaga, kaga, kaga. The sound of someone gnawing something forcefully echoed in the empty police station. Dead and twisted corpses were lying on the ground, propped on stools, or embedded in walls, with horrific expressions. A figure that resembles an arthropod, like a spider, but wearing a vest, is lying low on the ground like a beast, with its back to Yilin, and its figure is shaking, as if it is eating something. It's him. Now. The lights in the police station were already bright. The 6 dead police officers immediately turned on all the lights in the police station when the sudden change occurred, so that Yulin's vision was not blocked at this moment. It's Ban Chen. Although Yulin was not familiar with the dead man Ban Chen, the vest that Ban Chen wore when he tortured the security guard during the day was very familiar to Yulin. He actually come to life. Ban Chen. Yulin frowned and walked out of the darkness. Redemption and destruction appeared in Yulin's hand. The charged bullet was already loaded and had several layers of power, ready to go. Ban Chen heard the sound and suddenly turned his head. In an instant, in front of Yulin's eyes, something like a scene from a horror and supernatural movie played out. I saw Ban Chen biting the neck of a policeman in his mouth, and bright red arterial blood gushes out, staining Ban Chen's chest. Ban Chen's eyes were white and his pupils were invisible. The pale and bloodless face was covered with veins that bulged like blood vessels, and the expression was hideous and terrifying. Bang! Bang! After Yulin spoke out, she saw Ban Chen's weird posture and knew that Ban Chen was no longer a human being at this moment. The 2 guns that had already entered the charging state were discharged at the same time, shooting 2 bullets into Ban Chen's vitals. Hoo ho ho! Ban Chen bit the corpse's neck and made vague but creepy sounds. The moment Yulin raised his hand, his strangely bent limbs, like spider legs, flexed and bounced, making a crunching sound, bursting out with astonishing force, smashing through the glass, and in the blink of an eye, Yulin was gone from escape from the front. Boom! Boom! The 2 bullets fell into the air. After being charged, the power of the charged bullets was no different from that of artillery shells. They left 2 deep bowl-shaped pits on the walls and ground. Dense cracks spread along the walls and load-bearing columns. On the ceiling, the entire police station trembled under Yulin's bombardment, as if it had been slapped hard, causing an earthquake. The speed far exceeds the 3rd-level agility side. What about the strength side? Yulin stared at the hole left on the glass window after Spider Ban Chen escaped, his eyes flashed, and he calmly evaluated it as fast as he could. The strength and weirdness of the new version of Ban Chen, judging from his habit of chewing corpses, it seems that after his resurrection, he retained more of the habits of a beast? Or maybe, something more weird. It's very real to be able to judge in an instant that you can't beat me, and turn around and leave. Is it instinct or wisdom? But Ban Chen had just broken the window and escaped, but Yulin had already completed the thinking process. He grinned kindly, his senses spread silently, and he clapped his hands down from the air. If I really want you to escape, wouldn't your work be in vain? Bang! Snapped. Invisible and colorless palms condensed in the sky. Ban Chen had just jumped into the air, and before he could land safely, Yulin slapped him and brought him back to the ground with the food in his mouth. Within a short period of time. Too much movement. Outside the police station. Kudo Shinji, Chen Xiaoxiao, Chu Yalian, and Zhou Bucan still hesitated to move forward for some reasons. Some people are hesitating whether to enter, and some are still hesitating whether it is worth the risk. But while they were hesitating, a strange creature fell from the sky and landed not far from them. Stop him! Yulin walked out of the police station with 2 guns in hand, and shouted a reminder to the 4 people who were confused. How will you be here? Kudo Shinji was stunned and his glasses were crooked. It doesn't matter. Don't let it get away. Call. The 2 women reacted quickly. Chen Xiaoxiao and Chu Yalian looked at each other. Although they didn't know what happened, Yulin's performance at the job fair made them recognize Yulin's strength. In a panic, subconsciously following the instructions of a strong person is an instinct that every human being has without thinking. Swish, swish, swish. Chen Xiaoxiao and Chu Yalian quickly stepped forward and each occupied a corner. I saw Chen Xiaoxiao chuckle, her fingernails swelled up, and they were soaked in a faint green light. At a glance, she knew that she was not dressed like a serious woman. Chuyalian turned over his hand and took out a cute hammer. On the hammer's face was a cat's claw-shaped pattern. It's Ban Chen. After a brief surprise, Zhou Bucan and Kudo Shinji also recognized Ban Chen's face. Although Ban Chen's face now looks less like a normal human being, he can still be barely recognized from his facial features. How did he become like this? Kudo Shinji frowned, calmed down within a few seconds, and said in shock. But he also knew that this trial was full of weirdness. Even though they were former teammates in front of them, Kudo Shinji had no intention of stepping forward to say hello or walking up and shaking Ban Chen awake. The long sword with a dark red scabbard appeared in his hand, and he suddenly pulled it out. Click, click, click. Ban Chen was slapped in the air by Yilin. Yilin was not merciful. At that time, she planned to slap Ban Chen to death. At present, Ban Chen was struggling to get up from the ground. There was no emotion in his white eyes, but from the edge of his mouth biting the corpse's neck, while making strange noises, thick saliva continued to flow out. The bent limbs were pressed deeply into the ground, like a surrounded beast facing a hunter. How did he become like this? Gudong. Zhou Bucan clenched the claw knife with both hands, with a horrified expression. He first glanced at Ban Chen, who was obviously abnormal, and then looked at Kudo Shinji, but he hesitated to speak. Yilin saw everyone's expressions and reactions. But he didn't point it out, remained silent, picked at the dead skin on his forehead, and once again carefully observed the surrounded Ban Chen. This time, Yilin finally saw the strong grievance with her own eyes in this trial world. In Yilin's sight, Ban Chen's body seemed to be burning with dark flames, twisting and transforming into various demonic shapes around him. If it weren't for the progress bar of grudge to absorb resentment, which was already full, and there was only one emotional opportunity left to advance to the next ability, Yilin would have absorbed this wave of resentment with a confused face, regardless of exposing her strength. Say it again. Thick, delicious, and fresh, this is undoubtedly an excellent supplement for resentment. What to do? Chuyalian had obviously never experienced this weird scene where the apostle turned into a monster after being resurrected. After swallowing hard, he asked with a trembling voice. Yilin held two guns 10 meters away and replied lazily, "It depends on Captain Kudo's plan. Should he save his teammates? Or kill his former teammates?" Kudo Shinji's expression was indifferent. He did not turn around to look at Yilin, he just said. "He is dead." "Really?" Yilin asked. "Hurry up," Zhou Bucan took a breath, "there is too much noise here. It will alarm other things in the city. If you don't want to cause trouble, don't start internal strife at this time and deal with Ban Chen first. Let's talk later." "Fool." After Zhou Bucan said these words, Ban Chen suddenly heard a low roar that seemed to have been suppressed for a long time. The next second, Ban Chen opened his mouth wide, let go of the food in his mouth, exposed 2 rows of sharp white teeth, and rushed towards Zhou Bucan, who said this. "Grass." Zhou Bucan cursed loudly. He never expected that Ban Chen, who had become like this, still had some sense left. A casual remark about killing Ban Chen could actually arouse the hatred of his former teammates, making Zhou Bucan want to slap him in the mouth. "Make you talk bad. Make you talk bad. Make you talk bad. But it's too late to regret it now." Zhou Bucan's expression was ferocious. He turned around to avoid Ban Chen's sharp teeth. He touched the ground with his toes. With just this fulcrum, Zhou Bucan's body was twisted at an incredible angle beside Ban Chen. His claws were the knife stabbed Ban Chen in the back with his backhand, and the 2 knives pierced Ban Chen's back hard, drawing out dark blood. Tisk. Suddenly, there were 2 blood holes in Ban Chen's vest, and black blood gurgled out, as if 2 small springs had been dug out. Ban Chen was wounded on the back, but he didn't look back. He flicked his limbs and flew high into the air, disappearing into the night in the blink of an eye. Grass. He actually ran away. Yilin slowly put down the revolver in his hand, took out a clean tissue from the storage space, stained some black blood from Ban Chen's injury on the ground, frowned and said to the others, "Let's go. The police are here." Really? When they met Ban Chen, piercing sirens sounded from all over the city. Walk. Although the others were still shocked by Ban Chen's resurrection from death, no one wanted to expose themselves to the public's gaze when the trial situation was unclear. After looking at each other, Kudo pointed in a direction, and everyone retreated in that direction in unison. 10 minutes later, the 5 people came to an empty park. Yilin repeatedly confirmed that there was indeed no one around, no one walking their dog in the park late at night or anything like that. Except for Yilin, the other 4 people were still frightened when they thought of the strange things tonight. When they looked at each other, they were speechless. Yilin stepped forward, not bothering to talk nonsense, and looked directly at Kudo, seeking answers to verify his thoughts. His name is still on, right? Kudo, Shinji and Zhou Bukan, who were still in shock, were shocked and turned to look at Yilin. Kudo Shinji originally wanted to deny it, but then he thought about it and realized that his subconscious reaction had betrayed his thoughts. To deny it at this time is nothing more than making people laugh. So he could only swallow up the rhetoric that he had not yet had time to talk about, and asked in a low voice, "How do you know?" Simple. Yilin stretched out 2 fingers and broke them off one by one. When we were on the rooftop, Zhou Bukan's reaction was very strange. What he kept asking was how did he fall, instead of how did he die. As he said that, Yilin looked directly into Kudo Shinji's eyes and smiled slightly. "Just now, when you saw Ban Chen's resurrection from the dead, your first reaction was not why did he fake the corpse, but why did he fake it. It became like this. It can be seen that you who have Ban Chen's name in your address book never thought that he was dead." After saying that, Yilin's smile gradually faded. It turns out that this is the terrifying part of this trial. It turns out that this is the so-called after death. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 544. Ahem. Chu Yalian squeezed his career line hard and coughed twice to attract Yilin's attention. Of course, when she wasn't squeezing, she was exaggerating. With this squeeze, even Chen Xiaoxiao on the side couldn't stand it anymore. She clenched her fists hard, wishing she could squeeze the cartoon shape on Chu Yalian's clothes back to its original appearance like a balloon. Keep your chest. The cartoon baby on the clothes is innocent. As the saying goes, colleagues are enemies, and women are enemies among enemies. They don't look down on others. If you are big, I can't wait to crush you. You are so beautiful, I just want to scratch you. Brother, it seems like you are the kind of person who is proficient in solving puzzles. How about our 2 teams temporarily forming an alliance? My sister can give you a chance, remember to take advantage of it. It seems that Chu Yalian is also an experienced and wonderful person. In his gentle and playful tone, he specially emphasized the emphasis on the 4 words grasp and grasp. Okay, Yilin squinted and smiled, but you have to ask the girls in our team first. By the way, that's the one, the cute little girl who chopped off a piece with a wooden knife. When Chu Yalian heard this, his brows suddenly froze and he didn't dare to squeeze anymore. He could only take a few steps back and sulk alone. Kudo Shinji listened to Yilin's analysis. He didn't deny it. There is no point in denying it now. I saw him straightening his crooked black-rimmed glasses, looking at Yilin, and said, "Haha, don't you know this very well?" In fact, among all the teams, he was the first to die his teammates. Isn't it your team? When Yilin heard this, she was convinced. This guy first paid attention to his team because the dog on Yulin's team didn't know which corner he was assigned to, which led to all the teams thinking that one of their team would die as soon as they came out. After Kudo, Shinji deliberately drove Ban-Chen to approach the lake and eventually died tragically for some reason. Kudo's first thought was that Yulin might also know about it. Think of this. Yulin smiled back, neither denying nor admitting. Just let him figure it out. Tonight was not without success. At the very least, I know the true meaning of the idiom before death. Yulin said goodbye to Kudo and others for the time being and left the small park. When passing by the police station, Yulin found that the surrounding neighborhoods were completely surrounded. Teams of police officers and relevant staff were collecting evidence at the police station with solemn expressions. I guess Ban-Chen's resurrection from death cannot be hidden. Ban-Chen's body should have been placed in the morgue at first. Ban-Chen broke out of the morgue, leaving behind there are many traces, and they probably haven't escaped surveillance. I don't know what changes Ban-Chen's resurrection will bring to this trial. Yulin observed secretly for about 10 minutes and then left the area around the police station. After working all night, it was already 4 o'clock in the morning when Yulin had some free time again. Yulin searched the sky above Kanzaki City and found no sign of Ban-Chen. Where did he hide? With Ban-Chen's conspicuous target, it shouldn't be so easy to hide. But if he couldn't find it, he couldn't find it. In the end, Yulin had no choice but to give up for now. A mere classmate, even if he is abnormal, will not be able to cause too much trouble for the current Yulin. If it could be turned over, the one who should run away in the police station just now was not Spider Ban-Chen but Yulin. It's 4:30 in the morning. Suburbs. Yulin came to the place Su Jingjing mentioned. That little bungalow. From a high position, Yulin takes in an overview of the whole situation. The dilapidated bungalow has obviously been unoccupied for many years, and it smells like the underworld. Yulin specially summoned the two spirits and switched the perspective. From the perspective of the spirit, the weird little bungalow had a jagged blur on the edges, and it seemed to be clearly separated from the city. This should be the reason why Su Anjing feels sick. Yulin opened her eyes and looked calm. The problem is not an object or a person in this house, but the house itself. Is this the so-called haunted house? Yulin made a self-deprecating joke and dropped it in the yard. Although Yulin's sense of malice is not as keen as that of Su Anjing to the point of suffering from morning sickness. But the moment Yulin landed in the yard, she also felt waves of discomfort that seemed to come from the depths of her soul, but Yulin couldn't describe the specific discomfort in words. Master, something is not right with this house. As a spirit, Nai Hongzio speaks very convincingly, especially in such a gloomy environment. Bai Xiaoi shrank behind Yulin, holding onto Yulin's clothes with both hands and not letting go. Her face was pale. Master, can you not go in? Yulin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You are a spirit yourself, what are you afraid of? As he spoke, Yulin took the two little female spirits into the haunted house and began to explore. More than one group of people have already visited the bungalow. In addition to the traces of the original owner's residence, there are also many traces of outsiders left everywhere. Yulin's perception ability is very convenient for searching. The whole house is covered by Yulin's perception, and there are no blind spots. Entering the house, the strange and uncomfortable feeling faded a bit. The two little female spirits also looked left and right curiously, helping Yulin look for any clues she might have missed. 10 minutes later, Yulin came to the room Su Jingjing was talking about. The place has been deserted, leaving only wardrobes, beds, desks, and other furniture that is not easy to move. The walls, tables, chairs, and beds were covered with thick dust. Many people's footprints and palm prints were left on the dust, making it look messy. Is this where Su Anjing found this diary? Yulin took out the diary from the storage space and rubbed the dents of different shades left when scribbling with a ball pen on it. It seemed that from the dents in the handwriting, she could understand the person named Gaia Kinmei who wrote the diary. The delicate mood when journaling. It stands to reason that a place like this, which is not even considered a secret compartment, can actually leave a diary after so many people searched it. Yulin covered the so-called hidden grid back and sneered. It's almost time to go back. No more clues can be found here. Before leaving, Yuren once again scanned the room of Gaia Kinmei with his naked eyes. In fact, several times, Yulin wanted to give it a try what kind of experience it would be like to shout Gaia Kinmei loudly in the room of Gaia Kinmei, and what strange things would happen. Of course, being impulsive, Yulin really had no reason to try this kind of death-seeking behavior that was obviously contrary to the mission warning. Oh, man, being too rational may not be a good thing. Sometimes you can be more impulsive, and you might be able to find some unexpected surprises. Not far away, there was a dusty mirror standing on the desk. Right now. Yulin, who was about to leave, suddenly stopped. Something feels wrong. Why is it that the dust in every place in the whole house has left traces of outsiders, but no one cares about the dust on this mirror? Could it be that everyone is unwilling to look in the mirror in such a weird place? Yulin frowned and walked towards the dusty mirror while talking to herself. Covered by dust, the mirror could no longer reflect any light or shadow. Yulin pondered for a moment. He remembered what happened when he looked in the mirror in Shiwa apartment on the first night after arriving in Kanzaki City. He turned his left hand and a scarlet revolver appeared in his hand. He slowly wiped the mirror with his right hand. After wiping off a layer of dust, Yulin's face appeared in the mirror through the dim light. The moment Yulin's face appeared in the mirror, a pale hand quickly stretched out against the dark background and gently patted Yulin's shoulder. 5 o'clock in the morning. Ah! Su Jingjing yawned lazily. The flashlight is almost out of battery. A total of 10 people worked all night in the musty archives room. Even though he was a senior apostle with excellent physical fitness, he still couldn't bear the torture of staying up late, and there was obvious tiredness on everyone's face. Staying up late is a woman's natural enemy. If it weren't for the fact that when he returned, he could spend DP to repair his body into the same posture as when he entered the trial, Su Anjing would have felt that he had suffered a big loss after this trial, and his skin had deteriorated a lot. But staying down all night does not mean there is nothing gained. 10 people searching in the archives at the same time are much more efficient than one person alone. According to the crowdfunding list, if anyone finds a name on the list, he should immediately tell the name and let the corresponding person read the relevant information. Although the friendship between the apostles is all plastic. But at this time, everyone knew the importance of the search operation and that their own lives were at stake, so no one dared to step aside and work hard to help each other. The 2 people Su Jingjing cares about. One is Taninochi whom Yulin is looking for. The other one is the missing person Miki Kawai who Su Anjing is currently responsible for. The information of both students has been found. Su Anjing carefully took pictures of the information, making it clear and uncoded and properly preserved. However, she took the time to take a look at the files the 2 left in Kanzaki Middle School, and she didn't see much of a problem. However, Su Jingjing did not hesitate. After all, the agile side is not good at analyzing this kind of thing, so it is better to leave it to the mental side. Who makes the president the spiritual side? Deserve it? Su Jingjing thought happily. The search has come to an end. Sneaking into the archives late at night, apostles from various teams all gained something. But now no one has time to organize or communicate. They are still lingering around the old bookshelves, using the most primitive and stupid method, flipping through each book and searching bit by bit. On the crowdfunding list, names were crossed out one by one. Su Jingjing was very surprised. Why could the most crucial character information of Gaia Jiamai not be found? Could it be that it was destroyed because it was too important? Su Anjing thought as he walked around several bookshelves that had been torn apart and went deeper into the darkness. Suddenly, a pale and slender little hand, struggling to hold a file with a black leather cover, stretched out from the side and whispered. Here you go. Ah, thank you. Su Jingping took the file with a dark leather cover and quickly opened it. I don't know if it's due to improper storage, but the archival paper under the cover has turned yellow. The handwriting and ink on it also had a lot of mold spots due to moisture, which were mixed with the writing and ink. But the words can still be barely read. Su Jingjing just turned the page and couldn't help but feel so happy that he almost couldn't help shouting the name. But she still held back. This is clearly Gayajiamimi's profile. Looking for it, found it? For a moment, Su Anjing was so excited that goosebumps appeared all over his body, feeling numb and sour. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 545. About the name Gaiakinmei. It is the only information that Yilin team has. There were many people sneaking into the bungalow at that time. But it happened that Su Anjing got the diary. Maybe it was destined somewhere. When looking for the file of Gaiakinmei in the archives, Su Anjing did not write the name on the crowdfunding list because he knew the matter was important. Thank you. You're welcome. The smooth little hand that handed the file to Su Anjing quietly hid in the darkness, as if it had never appeared before. While Su Jingjing still had time, her curiosity was overflowing. After getting the key items to solve the puzzle, she couldn't wait to take a look. Gayajiamime. Enrollment date, September 3, 2018. 7 years ago. Su Anjing carefully identified the yellowed text on the file. Thanks to the online translation function provided by Tower, she could read it without any obstacles. Files from 7 years ago. But how could this file be so old? Is it used for table legs all year round? Su Anjing complained secretly. The material of the archival paper gave Su Jingjing the feeling, as if it had been soaked in water for a long time, fished out again, and dried to its current wrinkled appearance. But I still had the patience to read on. The files are all written in sloppy handwriting. Isn't there a printed version? There is also a photo of Gayajiamime on her profile page. But due to age and disrepair, half of the photo was blurred, and the eyes and nose were faded. Squinting and using the demo SAIC method to check, I could barely make out that Gayajiamime should be a little girl with short black hair and a light dimple on her face when she smiles. Su Jingjing quickly turned to the second page. On the second page, Gayajiamime's scores in various subjects were recorded. By the way, the Kanzaki Junior High School examination only evaluates grades, not specific scores or rankings. Each subject is divided into 4 grades A, B, C, D, and the 4 grades are further divided into plus and minus, with a total of 12 scoring grades. But no matter what, from this grading system, Su Anjing can see that the students of Kanzaki Middle School should not have much pressure from studying. Except for the physical education subjects, which are all C and D, all the brain-related subjects are all A+, which is awesome. Why are there only 2 years of grades and the third year's grades? Is it really okay to divide grades into A, B, C, D grades like bust size? People with a little imagination can easily go astray. Su Jingjing murmured to himself in the dark corner while flipping through the pages. Soon, she noticed something was wrong. Yilin seems to have mentioned before that the grade system of Kanzaki Middle School is a regular 3-year system. But why are Gayajiamime's academic scores only recorded in the first 2 years? What about the third year? Su Jingjing wondered and turned a few more pages. What struck her strangely was that the last few pages of the file seemed to have been torn out by someone. In other words, the third year results should have been recorded originally, but they were just lost. Su Anjing flipped through the pages quickly, reading 10 lines at a glance. What follows is a record of some scattered personal honors. It looks almost like a serious student profile. After a rough scan, the image of a girl with excellent academic performance appeared on the page. Right now, several dog-eared, yellowed black and white photos slid out from the last few pages of the file and landed at Su Anjing's feet. Yo! Any photos? Su Jingjing was stunned. She leaned over and picked up the pile of photos scattered on the ground. After just one glance, she felt her scalp numb. Her whole body seemed to be immersed in ice water. It was so cold that her heart and lungs were stiff, making it difficult to breathe. She seemed to have forgotten her heartbeat. The first picture, a short-haired girl wearing a school uniform, who should be Gayajimime, is squatting helplessly in the corner of the toilet. A group of boys surround Gayajimime, laughing wantonly and peeing on the girl's head. The second picture, Gayajimime was hung from a rotating ceiling fan, surrounded by men and women also wearing school uniforms. Some were watching indifferently, some were pointing, and some were immersed in reading. The third picture, Gayajimime is being pulled by many people and being stuffed into a dog cage. The fourth picture, Gayajimime's thin body was covered with strange symbols of unknown meanings such as RBQ and with the brushes used in art class. The fifth picture, something was stuffed in Gayajimime's mouth, and someone covered her face with plastic wrap. Her whole face was covered with suffocation, and she was kneeling on the ground in convulsions due to suffocation and lack of oxygen. Next to her, a sweet-looking girl with long hair stepped on Gayajimime's head wrapped in plastic wrap, lifted up her skirt, and struck a sultry pose. The sixth picture. The seventh picture. The eighth picture. Su Jingjing could no longer describe the scene in the photo with any words. They are obviously a group of ignorant students who are still in the ivory tower. Through these black and white photos taken several years apart, the bright and happy smiles on their faces exude a malice that even Su Anjing can't bear. Yes, malicious. That terrible malice actually emanated from the photo. Su Anjing, who was very sensitive to this kind of emotion after switching to elf blood, felt as if he was in it. A fishy smell surged into his throat, and Su Anjing finally couldn't bear it anymore. He let out bursts of retching. Even at the end, he vomited a lot of yellow-green bile. Huh, huh, huh. Su Jingjing sat on the ground as if he was exhausted, covered in cold sweat. At this moment, a ridiculous idea even came to her mind. If I were Gayajimime, I would definitely treat these people. Hiss. The terrifying thought that emerged from the depths of his mind involuntarily shocked Su Jingjing himself. As an apostle, killing people is nothing. But at that moment, the thoughts and even images came to Su Jingjing's mind. In the picture, Su Anjing is holding a hatchet and using various indescribable cruel methods to kill men and women whose faces cannot be seen. Su Jingjing took a deep breath. Within a moment, Su Jingjing calmed down quickly due to the veteran's strong character and psychological quality. That pile of photos, and the last one. Su Anjing was mentally prepared and carefully took out the black and white photo hidden at the end. He was obviously mentally prepared. Moreover, after experiencing the severe beatings and mental torture in the previous photos, Su Anjing's san value has dropped to a certain level. He is as tough as iron and cannot be lost. But when I saw the last black and white photo, Su Anjing still felt that there was a loud buzzing sound in her mind, which had finally calmed down. It made her brain turn pale. It was an empty classroom. Or hanging rope. Gayajimime was hung from the ceiling fan. But this time, it was not the hands that were hung, but the neck. Gayajimime, who was hung by the neck, actually laughing. Just when Su Anjing saw the contents of the photo and was shocked on the spot by the horrific scene. A slender hand patted Su Jingjing's slightly trembling shoulder. Ah! Laugh. Ding. Su Jingjing's hands are extremely fast. As soon as he turned around, he drew an arrow. Oda Mai waved her sword expressionlessly to block the arrow, and the arrow's feathers were nailed to the bookshelf nearby and kept shaking. Well. When Su Jingjing saw it was Mai Oda, she knew that something big had happened to her. If she didn't explain it properly, this scary woman might just raise her hand and stab her. Oda Mai. She didn't pull out the knife. He just slowly typed a question mark. What's wrong with this woman? Sister Xiao, don't you know that tapping someone on the shoulder in such a dark environment in the middle of the night will scare them to death? Sorry. To Su Jingjing's surprise, Oda Mai nodded expressionlessly, accepted the explanation, and said, I didn't expect you to be so timid. Su Jingjing's eyes twitched, and he quickly put away the information he had finally found with great difficulty to avoid missing anything. After putting away Gaijimimi's file, Su Jingjing put away her bow and arrows, and said to Mai Oda in a low voice, I'm a normal woman, okay, but that's not important. Su Jingjing realized that this sentence seemed to suggest that Mai Oda was not a normal woman, so he quickly changed his words, Sister Xiao, you are so awesome, you can find such hard-to-find information. Now I probably know this test what's going on with the training? Let's get out of here quickly. I always feel like something is not right about this place. I want to tell the president the information found here as soon as possible. As he spoke, Su Jingjing didn't want to stay in this gloomy archives room for one more second, so he waved to the apostles from other teams and walked out of the archives room. Behind Su Anjing, Oda Mai frowned. I just arrived. Su Jingjing paused, widened his eyes, and turned his head, thinking that Oda Mai was joking. Oda Mai quickly walked to Su Jingjing and comforted, I didn't find your information. At the same time. Bungalow. A girl's secret boudoir. A hand patted Yilin's shoulder. That hand was so white that there was no blood at all, and it was terrifyingly slender. Even through his clothes, Yilin could feel the biting chill coming from that weak palm, making him feel chilled all over. Is this such an old-fashioned trick? In the mirror, a woman with long hair hanging over her face, whose face could not be seen clearly, appeared like a ghost in the deep and dark background. At that moment, Yilin looked at the mirror, and the darkness behind him seemed to come alive, twisting into weird shapes. The woman who put her palm on his shoulder seemed to come out of the dark cave and bring love and peace to the world. Yilin did not hesitate. He had already been mentally prepared. In this weird trial, Yilin will not be surprised by any story that happens. Unless you can't help it. The moment the hand was placed on Yilin's shoulder, Yilin made a decision in less than a second, turned around and raised her hand. The cold gun pointed at the other party. The moment Yilin made a move, the woman who appeared in the mirror moved like a ghost, diving into the darkness without making any sound. There was no breathing, no heartbeat, no footsteps, everything was like nothing. But in the corner of the room, a woman wearing black clothes, with her head lowered and her hair disheveled, was standing there. Call. Yilin was not surprised but overjoyed and breathed a sigh of relief. The real owner did appear. If she turned around and saw nothing behind her, Yilin would feel depressed. Now that guy is hiding in a dark corner, which makes Yilin feel at ease. After all, you can see and shoot. At worst, you can shoot with all your strength and kill him with one shot. The scarlet revolver, the texture of the gun body, and the flowing light. The charged bullet was silently accumulating in the magazine. As Yilin's spiritual energy was poured into the bullet, even Yilin himself was afraid of the shot. Yilin smiled slightly and pointed the gun steadily at the figure in the darkness. I should call you, Originally, Yirin wanted to say, should I call you Gyakotomi or Tananochi? But he suddenly remembered that important reminder and immediately swallowed the second half of the sentence alive, not daring to speak nonsense. After a moment of silence, Yilin reorganized her words and asked again, who are you? The woman in the dark was silent for a moment. He. Suddenly, a strange laughter came from the dark figure. The next second, the shadow moved. She slowly stepped out of the darkness. Through the dim light outside the window, a face that haunted Yilin and could be said to be unforgettable appeared in front of Yilin again. Rin, it's me. Shock. Confuse. Anger. Have no choice. In an instant, all kinds of complicated emotions surged into my heart. But these emotions are not intense enough to cause resentment to change to the next stage. Oh, Ling Yi. Yilin sneered and pressed the trigger. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 546. I just touched something dirty. After Su Anjing was carried out of the archives by Oda Mai, she faintly woke up. After waking up, the first words I spoke were as if I had not woken up. There was a hint of weirdness in Oda Mai's cold eyes. She put Su Anjing down and shook the knife in her hand. Just chop him to death. You don't understand. Su Jingjing stroked his chest gently, remembering what happened just now. His face was still pale, and he muttered, "This trial world should be the most terrifying supernatural trial. It's in the Apostle Forum. Many people have discussed the trial type with extremely high mortality rate. By the way, do you want to visit the forum? Practice your sword." Oda Mai shook her head. When it comes to the implication, how can visiting forums be as good as practicing swordsmanship? Su Jingjing was speechless for a moment. She was careless just now. Because among all the apostles who searched for information in the archives, only she and Mai Odin knew the name Gyakotomi. So when that hand stretched out, Su Anjing subconsciously thought that it was Oda Mai who had finally found Gyajiamaimi's file and handed it over to her. But think about it carefully. This is wrong. Oda Mai doesn't know how to look for information honestly. Totally impossible. So, who is that hand? While Su Jingjing was thinking about these questions, an answer flashed in his mind. But she didn't believe it and couldn't believe it. All the apostles left silently. Before there was a clear conflict of interest, the relationship between the apostles was relatively harmonious. After saying goodbye to each other, they happily left with the information they found. Su Jingjing grabbed Oda Mai's clothes, and the two of them walked on the deserted campus path. Perhaps it was influenced by the weirdness of speaking out in the archives. Even the chirping of cicadas among the trees sounded like a wolf crying and a ghost howling to Su Anjing's ears, which was very scary. After what happened tonight, she must not go to the place where she lives. It's so annoying. Whoever wants to live there will live there. No, I have to contact the president quickly. Tell him about this. There is a trial next door. If you are in trouble, go to Laupan. And here, if you are in trouble, go to the president. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this. Su Anjing quickly summarized what happened in the archives room and the information he found in the most concise words, and sent it to Yilin. In summary, this trial is haunted. It's Gyajiamaimi seeking revenge. Finished sending the message. Su Jingjing is very satisfied with his language organization ability, which is very good. Yilin did not reply for the time being. But no matter what, the news was sent out. Maybe the president is busy, Su Jingjing was a little unsure. Or maybe he's fast asleep. Su Jingjing couldn't help but feel a little angry when she thought that Yilin might be sleeping. It's already past 5 in the morning. Daybreak is coming. After dawn, it's a brand new second day. Today, there are still about 6 days until the deadline for the second main task. There's plenty of time. Su Jingjing was not in a hurry. Although she already knew that Gyajiamaimi was behind the whole incident, she couldn't figure out what to do next as she was an agile person. You can only take one step and see one step. Wait for Yilin to reply. Who told you to be on the spiritual side? Deserve it? Su Anjing couldn't help but feel a sense of revenge in his heart when he thought of Yi Lin's frowning expression as she racked her brains to figure out how to pass the level. Where are we going now? Su Anjing looked at Oda Mai pitifully. Oda Wu equipped her with a knife, lowered her head and thought for a while, then walked in a certain direction. Although Oda Mai didn't say much, her calm posture gave her a sense of tranquility and security. After struggling for a while, Su Jingjing thought to herself that she didn't dare to go anywhere now, so she might just dance with Oda, which might be safer. There used to be a saying that people with strong evil spirits are immune to all evil spirits. One look at my Oda like that, well, this is very evil-proofing. Thinking of this, Su Anjing felt more at ease as she followed Oda Mai. Li Chang'e was woken up in the middle of the night by peeing. Somehow, he always felt uncomfortable after returning to the villa. There was no one else in the empty villa. Normally, forget it. In the trial, every minute and every second was a matter of life and death, so of course he would not make random moves. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Late at night. In the bathroom on the first floor, there was a faint sound of dripping water. Again. Li Chang'e's heart skipped a beat, the atmosphere in the air was slightly subtle. Mako. Li Chang'e's expression changed. No wonder he was woken up by peeing. He usually didn't urinate at night. It turned out that it was the body's instinctive defense reaction that woke him up. Li Chang'e, you are awesome. A gloomy female spirit, wearing a pure white dress, floating behind Li Chang'e without touching the ground. Li Chang'e squeezed the puppet tightly, feeling a little more confident in his heart. Oh, is it really a supernatural trial? No wonder it is called the Eternal Night level difficulty. It is said that the survival rate of this trial is less than 10%, so many people are matched to this trial world with a low survival rate. How unlucky are you? Seeing that there was no one around, Li Chang'e didn't bother to pretend to be a coward. He put on the bat suit skillfully, holding the cursed spirit weapon in his left hand and the 8 directions invincible sword in his right hand. He walked out of the room and faced the sound of dripping water. Go in the direction it came from. After walking out of the room. Because of the backward technology in this era, home lighting module components with artificial AI control and fully automatic control have not yet been born. According to the past, when Li Chang'e gets up in the middle of the night, the sweet female voice will automatically shout Yazudi my song, which always makes Li Chang'e's long nights of loneliness in the boudoir more interesting. But now, before going downstairs, Li Chang'e did 2 things. 1. Send a text message to Thyrin, boss, help me. I'm going to be cold. It doesn't matter whether Yi Lin wants to come or not. It's always right to call for help. What if the boss cares about him and rushes over immediately? Moreover, Yi Lin said before that the voice would not be answered. So Li Chang'e didn't dare to harass Yi Lin with his voice in the middle of the night. If Yi Lin couldn't figure it out and blocked him, and something big happened, Li Chang'e would really be in trouble. As for the second thing, Li Chang'e put various equipment collected during this period on his neck, head, wrists, and waist. After being armed to the teeth, Li Chang'e's sense of security increased step by step, and he felt that no matter what monster he encountered, he could kill it with one sword. Others may look down upon this type of trial. Li Chang'e chuckled and walked downstairs cautiously, but in the empty and dark villa, Li Chang'e's confident chuckle echoed, ah, but for me, having a cursed spirit-possessed weapon, I am the nemesis of this kind of stuff. Master, you are so cowardly. Genza was held in front of Li Chang'e, floating speechlessly, and whispered something. This is not called cowardice, this is called sincerity. Li Chang'e was stunned when her mother spirit complained. She didn't know where she learned this from. Li Chang'e did not give too complicated a noun explanation for the word coward, and urged, I think you can't understand the true feelings of human beings. Hurry, go to the toilet and see who the monster is. It's causing trouble. Good master. Mako responded obediently and submissively. Snapped. When he walked downstairs, Li Changa quickly turned on the lights in the whole room. Suddenly, the bright LED lights dispersed all the darkness. At the same time, it also dispelled Li Changa's heart. This time he wasn't afraid anymore. Wearing a suit of top-notch equipment and holding Genzi in front of him, Li Changa finally arrived at the dripping bathroom. It's the shower head that's leaking. Although Li Changa doesn't look very good, he is still a veteran who has lived from the beginning to the present. He has gone through version changes and is still alive. After hesitating briefly in front of the toilet door, Li Changa quickly walked to the bathtub to check if someone had secretly turned on the switch. Huh? The switch is obviously closed tightly, how can it leak? Li Changa first frowned and muttered to himself, and then asked Genzi beside him, is there anything weird? Mako's eerie gaze stared directly at the leaking shower head above through the bangs that were scattered in front of his forehead. Master, there is hair there. Genzi pointed at the head of the shower head and said quietly. Really? Li Changa followed Genzi's white hands, and found bundles of tiny hairs emerging from the densely packed pores on the shower head. No wonder water is dripping. What kind of physical phenomenon is this? When he saw the hair, Li Changa breathed a sigh of relief. Since it is a scientific phenomenon, there is nothing to be afraid of. On the first day, he had already experienced the strange phenomenon of hair emerging from the shower head. Now, these few hairs could not scare the brave and careful Li Changa. Li Changa pulled out those bunches of hair. The last time, he told Yilin that it was nonsense to stuff it back. Who the hell can put hair back through that hole? He threw it all in the toilet and burned it. Unexpectedly, after the burn, my hair broke out again today. Is it over yet? Li Changa threw all the bunches of hair into the toilet and flushed them away, feeling immediately relieved. After solving the leak, Li Changa flushed the toilet again just in case it didn't come out clean. After solving the leak, Li Changa checked the shower head and turned on the switch. But this time, Li Changa was stunned again. Why don't you come out of the water now? Li Changa got angry and slapped the water pipe with an angry palm, making a loud bang. The next second, Li Changa watched helplessly as several strands of black hair came out of the shower head, and water leaked into the bathtub again. Grass. Li Changa was speechless. Master, it should be blocked inside. Mako saw from the side that his master couldn't produce a miracle despite his great efforts, so he kindly reminded him. I know, I just took a shot. Li Changa's face was expressionless. Although he looked a little angry, he had not lost his mind. From the moment he became an apostle, Li Changa, who has survived until now, was even more cautious in the Eternal Night level difficulty trial, never daring to take it lightly. As the saying goes, when things go wrong, there must be a monster. There's no way this shower head would just flood randomly, there must be something weird about it. Li Changa hesitated for a while. On the other side, Yilin didn't know what she was busy with and didn't reply to his message. It's time to prove my worth, Li Changa. Li Changa sighed. Now that things have come to a point, he can no longer hide his strength. Li Changa twisted hard, and the entire water pipe, including the shower head, was unscrewed by Li Changa. Look, Li Changa is so awesome. Crash dash. The moment the water pipe was unscrewed, a disgusting stench spread in the toilet. After the water pipe was unclogged, water gurgled out from the broken part of the water pipe. Within a few moments, the dry bathtub was filled to less than half. Bundles of hair, floating in the bathtub. In addition to hair, there is also a lot of foam. In the foam, there is a white bead, which rises and falls with the waves in the bathtub, rolling endlessly. The white beads rolled for a while and just turned around. At that moment, Li Changa was so frightened that he took a few steps back, his face turned pale, and he pulled out the Beifang invincible sword and held it in front of him. turn out to be blocking the water pipes. It's a human eyeball. Oh, 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 oh. The next second, Li Changa's screams resounded through the night sky. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Xueshi. Chapter 547. At the same time. In the bungalow. Oh, Ling Yi. Yilin sneered and pressed the trigger. Ling Yi faced Yilin's gun, but a gentle smile appeared on her face that was exactly the same as in Yilin's memory. Yingying stepped forward, as if she didn't care about Yilin's gun at all. Rin, what are you doing? Yilin looked at the other party calmly. The dead skin on her forehead gave off an unbearable numbness, as if there was a monster dormant in the dead skin, exuding an almost beastly instinct towards Ling Yi. So fertile. In Yilin's eyes, the person in front of her was pretending to be Ling Yi's thing, and her whole body was filled with resentment that was almost solidified. That resentment, if Su Anjing came, would make her suffer from morning sickness in a matter of minutes. But for Yilin, this feeling of being immersed in resentment was like returning to his mother's arms, making him feel well-fed, well-off, and wealthy. Of course, the current Yilin can't even remember what mother's arms feels like. It's purely a metaphor. Say, who are you? Facing the approach of Ling Yi, Yilin did not panic. The parasitic growth weapon grudge parasitized on his body is the nemesis of this kind of weird existence. Although Yilin has not yet figured out the upper limit of grudge's ability, but now, Yilin is currently facing this for this type of weirdness, you can only rely on resentment, and you can't be timid. I'm Yi. The other party was unwilling to give in and refused to tell the truth. In the dark confrontation, the other party approached step by step. Behind her, there was a deeper darkness, like an endless abyss, which made people sink. 3 meters. 2 meters. 1 meter. Ling Yi seemed to be approaching very slowly, but when Yilin was asking and answering questions with it, Ling Yi had already entered Yilin's cordon. No more delay. Since I can't ask. Yilin frowned, pressed her index finger tightly on the trigger, and pressed down hard. But the next second, something happened that shocked Yilin. His fingers couldn't make any next move. Why? Why? Something's wrong with me. Rin-kun, you are really gentle. Ling Yi chuckled. When Yilin was stunned, she stretched out a pair of pale and skinny palms and gently pushed Yilin's chest. In an instant, a strange black vortex appeared in the mirror behind Yilin without any warning. With the push of Ling Yi, the stunned Yilin was easily pushed into the dark vortex behind her. Owner! Owner! Behind Yilin, Bai Xiaoai and Nai Hongxiu, who knew Yilin very well and knew that Yilin had the ruthlessness to destroy flowers, also looked at Yilin in shock, one person and two mothers. Spirits seemed to feel incredible about the same thing. In the blink of an eye, the two little female spirits, Bai Xiaoai and Nai Hongxiu, disappeared into the girl's boudoir along with Yilin. In the dark, the ghostly figure twisted slightly, and Ling Yi disappeared, replaced by a short-haired girl. The girl's face was pale and bloodless, but her face was dotted with a pair of dark eyes, without the whites of her eyes, which was extremely strange. You are so gentle, Rin-kun. The girl said the same sentence again, but her tone was completely different. Without touching the ground, the girl floated back and dived into the dark corner again. I do not know how long it has been. The quiet girl's boudoir is silent. Click. The dusty mirror, with only traces of Yilin's smear remaining on it, cracked in the dead silence. A crack extended from one corner of the mirror to the opposite corner, splitting the entire mirror into two. Suddenly, A pale hand shadow appeared out of thin air at the crack in the mirror. The hand slowly approached reality from the depths of the mirror. Suddenly, no one saw it. That hand stretched out from the other side of the mirror. And at this time, on the horizon, the first ray of morning light dimly reflected in the girl's boudoir, dispelling part of the darkness. The next day. Early morning. Ring 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 ring. The piercing alarm clock rings cheerfully. It's a new day in Kanzaki City. Oda Mai opened her eyes, expressionless, and smashed the alarm clock beside her with a slap, and the harsh alarm sound stopped suddenly. Can you please stop being so violent? Su Jingjing watched helplessly as Oda Mai stopped the alarm clock. She didn't know what adjective to use to describe Oda Mai's ferocity at this moment. The alarm clock is innocent, okay. The president didn't reply all night. Could something have happened? When Su Anjing woke up, she found that Yilin still hadn't replied to her message last night, and she couldn't help but feel worried. Oda Mai immediately opened the address book, took a look, and shook her head. No. How to say? He has a tough life. As a kendo teacher, Mai Odin naturally has the authority to enter and exit the dojo at will. After a busy night, she and Su Jingjing chose to rest in the dojo in the second half of the night and had a peaceful night. Through clues, Su Anjing had roughly outlined the outline of the entire trial. He was full of worries about the next few days and didn't know how to spend it. While Su Anjing was lying on the floor, immersed in thought, Oda Mai had already finished washing and walked out of the bathroom next door with a renewed look. Then, Oda Mai put on the black and white gi, and began to swing the sword meticulously, one step at a time, tirelessly. After dawn, Su Jingjing was not so afraid anymore. It is said that demons like to travel in the dark. How dare they show up at dawn? It won't be that rampant. Oops. I have to leave quickly. Only then did Su Anjing remember that his status was not suitable for showing up in Kanzaki High School. After saying goodbye to Oda Mai, he left the dojo, climbed over the wall and left Kanzaki Middle School. Before leaving, Su Anjing never forgot to remind. Remember to ask the president to reply to my message. Good. The sky is bright. The students put on their school uniforms and entered the school one after another. One after another, students were walking on the school road, looking down at their mobile phones with calm expressions on their faces. But inside, it was turbulent. On the campus forum, all kinds of gossip spread at a terrifying speed. Have you heard about it? A spider monster appeared in the city last night. Kanzaki City's good neighbor spider monster? Where is that kind of thing? It's a real monster. A friend of mine got up in the middle of the night and saw it with his own eyes. All the police are out. It is said that many people died. Hey, is it true? Are there still monsters in Kanzaki City? Don't believe it. I heard that many people are missing before. It's very possible that they were all eaten by the spider monster. Under the dense replies, an anonymous user replied. I have long disliked Rume from class 3 next door. Please eat her, spider monster, he he he. Kingza from class 6 always flirts with brother Tsubasa, the captain of the football team, so let's eat that slut together. When you went to school in the morning, did you see the police at the school gate? Did something happen to our school again? Again? Don't you all know, 5 years ago? SHH. Don't talk nonsense. Cut. Who doesn't know what happened 5 years ago? I heard that early in the morning, the police came to our school to investigate, and even the principal showed up. Really? Isn't it? What happened? I heard that 2 security guards disappeared last night. It seems to be called, Fayakan and Murata. Murata? Is he that middle-aged bald fat man? Yes, it's him, Toritaro Murata. It turned out to be him. Could it be that he was eaten by a spider monster? That Murata stares at my skirt all day long, it's so disgusting, fat house. You deserve to die. SHH. Don't talk nonsense, it might just be a simple disappearance. This kind of rubbish and fat house might as well be dead, go to hell. Yes. Go to hell. Go to hell. Go to hell. Dead. It's useless even if you don't die. Deserved it? Have a good death. When Su Jingjing climbed over the wall. There are many police cars parked in the school parking lot. Several people in police uniforms were wandering near the school gate. A few who looked like school leaders were circling around several police officers, wiping the sweat from their heads and saying something. What happened? Su Anjing stood on the wall and took a look from a distance. But she didn't dare to stay. Seeing that nothing special seemed to have happened, she left here before she was discovered. Before leaving, Su Anjing turned back indifferently. At that moment, Su Anjing felt an inexplicable palpitation in her heart, as if something was staring at her back with a lustful look. Su Jingjing felt something was wrong and left quickly, the sooner the better. The vast sea of people, nowhere to stay, very lonely. Where to go? She couldn't help but open her address book. Yilin's name was still on, but there was no reply, which made Su Jingjing very uneasy. It stands to reason that unless the Do Not Disturb mode is set, the vibrations of the death mark are strong and weak, rhythmic, and cannot be easily ignored. With President Yiren's character, would he blacklist his teammates casually? Impossible. Why? Just when Su Jingjing was struggling. The death mark on her body began to tremble as expected, and it was very touching as she moved every time. President. Su Anjing looked surprised and prepared to open the new message. She never knew that receiving the message was such a joyful thing. But when she saw the person who sent the message, the surprise on her face instantly turned into constipation. Why you? A big star. You don't even know what time it is. Isn't it interesting to send harassing text messages so early in the morning? Su Jingjing answered the call angrily and began to rant without saying a word. From Su Jingjing's angry tone, Li Chang'e imagined a scene of a little girl with her hands on her hips and spitting at him, which made Li Chang'e look confused. But Li Chang'e was preoccupied with other things and didn't pay too much attention. He quickly asked. No, where is President Yilin? Where is he? I can't contact him. I really want to know where the president is now, who gave up his responsibilities and went missing. You also? Yes. Me too. It's over. What? Oh no, forget it, you can come. Something happened here. Something big happened. Come and help. Li Chang'e shouted hurriedly on the phone. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 548. September 15th. Early morning. After getting up, Oda Mai sent messages to Yiren more than once, but all the messages were lost without any reply. This? Where have people gone? Oda Mai slowly typed a question mark and murderously typed an exclamation mark. She sensed something was wrong. She rarely sends messages to Yiren. But once she sent it, Yilin didn't dare not reply. Oda-sensei. In the dojo. The students wearing full protective gear looked at the young and beautiful kendo teacher in confusion, as if they were in a daze. Finally, someone couldn't help but ask. Oda Mai let out a long sigh of relief, picked up the wooden knife lying beside her, and chopped the wooden training dummy into pieces with one stroke. In an instant, in the dojo, the students who were still looking forward to the content of the kendo class a second ago fell into silence, not even daring to make a sound. There were even many students who were clever and quietly moved towards the entrance of the dojo. Oda Mai took a lunge and blocked the space between the students and the only entrance to the dojo. Her expression was rare and kind, and she smiled slightly and said, "In class now." At the same time, Kanzaki Middle School, the school gate. Toritaro Murata, male, 45 years old, single, living with his parents. It is said that after getting off work early last night, he was supposed to go home, but he was missing all night. His parents reported the case early in the morning, and it was initially determined that he was missing. Himura Ryunashuk, male, 27 years old, single, living alone. Normal working hours are midnight minus 1400 hours. It says here that his positions are area and school gate. What's the difference? A shrewd and capable police detective looked through the information on the missing persons and frowned. Principal Kanzaki held a wet wipe in his hand, panting, wiping the sweat from his face, and explained, "Officer Shiratori, you know, our school is always short of manpower, so many security guards are taking turns to replace different positions. In fact, Mr. Himura's specific working hours are 8 o'clock minus 1400 hours stationed in Area A, and midnight minus 8 o'clock stationed at the school gate." Officer Shiratori listened to Principal Kanzaki's explanation and was reasonable, but his frown did not loosen and he continued to ask, "What is Area A?" Principal Kanzaki laughed along with him. "This does not seem to be information within the scope of the case, right? Fayakan disappeared last night." Principal Kanzaki didn't have time to finish the second half of his sentence. Officer Shiratori interrupted Principal Kanzaki impatiently. "Whether it is related to the case or not, it is our police who have the final say." Aside. A female secretary with a graceful figure wearing a black OL skirt, black stockings and high heels exchanged a quick look with Principal Kanzaki and explained with a smile, "Actually, it's not a secret. Since Officer Shiratori feels that it is related to the case, our school Fang doesn't dare to hide it." Officer Shiratori began to write down in his notebook. Area actually refers to the area around the lake behind our school. Many years ago, there was a drowning incident of a student swimming in the lake privately, so the previous Principal Kanzaki amended the school rules in order to avoid similar cases from happening again. It is expressly prohibited for anyone to approach the area around the back mountain lake. Yes, Principal Kanzaki wiped his sweat and said with a smile, "We have set up posts around the lake. If you don't believe it, we can take Officer Shiratori to have a look later." Lake. Officer Shirashio's heart moved, and he nodded without any hesitation, "No need to be late, I'll order someone to take a look now." After saying that, Officer Shiratori ordered another accompanying police officer to go to the back mountain with the school personnel to check what Principal Kanzaki called Area A. Next, Officer Shiradio asked many questions about the work of the two missing persons. The sexy secretary and Principal Kanzaki each answered the question online, and Officer Shiratori recorded it truthfully. As the most crowded place, why is there no monitoring equipment at the school gate? That's because many parents of students reported that too many surveillance equipment were installed on campus without permission, infringing on the precious privacy of students. At the board meeting a few years ago, after a unanimous decision by the directors, we increased security patrols and dismantled all surveillance equipment. The sexy secretary added online, "Everything is for the students." After Officer Shiratori asked a few more related questions. "Thank you for your cooperation." The end. Officer Shiratori closed the notebook, put it away close to his body, and gently shook Principal Kanzaki's greasy palm. "Of course, we should cooperate with the police in investigating the case. However, this incident happened within the scope of our school, and our school also has a certain responsibility. When the time comes, our school will certainly not be short of related pensions." The sexy secretary suddenly poked Principal Kanzaki behind him. Principal Kanzaki trembled, looked down at the watch on his wrist, and said quickly, "That's right. Look at my memory, I will still be missing this time in 10 minutes. The case goes to the board of directors at the school, and if Officer Shiratori has nothing else to do at this time, The police officer who followed the school personnel to the lake to investigate also returned here and whispered a few words in Officer Shiratora's ear. Haha, not yet. If anything is discovered, our police will contact your school again. Everyone, stop the team. Yes. Other police officers responded. Principal Kanzaki breathed a sigh of relief quietly. When Officer Shiratori walked out of the school gate, he seemed to remember something and suddenly turned around. By the way, this incident should have nothing to do with that incident 5 years ago, right? Upon hearing this, Principal Kanzaki's Adam's apple trembled several times without any trace, but his expression did not change at all, and he still maintained a smile. How is that possible? The police have already investigated the incident 5 years ago very clearly. It was just a simple matter. Campus bullying case, we have also punished the relevant students accordingly. That's good. But I know that very well. Officer Shiratora's next words made Principal Kanzaki freeze up as he wiped his sweat. My unlucky younger brother, Shiratori Kazuki, was the naughty student of that generation. Farewell. Watching Officer Shiratori leave with a team of police officers until they disappeared from sight, Principal Kanzaki's round smiling face suddenly turned ferocious and ugly. He gritted his teeth and whispered, "Damn it, how could she sneak out? No. Impossible. We have obviously. SHH. The sexy secretary raised her index finger to her mouth, making a silent gesture. After a moment of silence, the two of them discussed another matter in a low voice while walking towards the school. Someone broke into the archives last night. Humph, the protective net on the other side of the lake has also been damaged. Principal Kanzaki lowered his voice and said viciously, it seems that there are a lot of rats mixed in among these teachers. The secretary shook his head, there is no way, we must maintain the image of the school on the surface. Principal Kanzaki gritted his teeth for a while before his expression became more relaxed and he said coldly, but it doesn't matter. All the information about that incident has been destroyed, and her information has been completely destroyed. Unless there is a ghost, otherwise those damn rats can't find anything no matter how they search in the school. There are not many happy hours left for the mice. The secretary covered her mouth and smiled sweetly. Yes. Principal Kanzaki chuckled, secretly squeezing the secretary's buttocks through her tight skirt with one hand. The two of them drifted away, and their breathing became heavier in unison. Officer Shiratori, what do you think about this disappearance case? After Officer Shiratori led a group of people away from Kanzaki High School, a group of police officers were discussing in a police car. Hanging on the rearview mirror of the police car was a black and white photo of a young boy whose eyebrows were somewhat similar to Officer Shiratori's. The 4 words Shiratori Kazuki were scrawled on the photo. Officer Shiratori drove the police car towards the police station with an expressionless expression, looking straight ahead and said, "This incident must be related to the incident 5 years ago. Moreover, Kanzaki Middle School is indeed hiding something." Oh. The other police officers in the car looked up from their phones, wanting to hear what Officer Shiratori had to say. In the past 6 months, among the missing cases that have occurred one after another in Kanzaki City, the only thing they have in common is that they were all related to the school bullying case 5 years ago. Himura Raiwachisuke and Murata Toritaro. Our current classification of these 2 missing persons is only missing and has not been judged as dead. However, Kanzaki has already said pension, which shows that in his subconscious, he has both of them are presumed dead. Niao Sheng, you discovered Huadian. When the police officer in the car heard this, he immediately became energetic. It made sense when he thought about it carefully. Furthermore, Officer Shiratori drove the vehicle skillfully, his eyes moving from time to time in the front 3 rear-view mirrors, and continued, furthermore, there were no signs of fighting in the security booth, but there was a little bit of dryness on the ground. Water damage. It didn't rain last night, where did the water damage come from? Officer Shiratori Saijo. Woohoo. In addition, you just said that one of the protective fences near the lake has been repaired recently. I think these two clues should be related. While the four people in the car were discussing the case, the car had already driven into the center of the road and gradually accelerated. Plop. Look, what's going on with this wish? Is there really someone who will help him fulfill this wish? The wish level is actually S level. At this time, one of the police officers sitting in the back row was scrolling through his mobile phone when he was bored, and said to the police officer next to him with a half smile and half anger. Hey, Yamagata-kun, it turns out you are also playing with the praying tree. It's okay, the level is not high. Mr. Yamagata smiled and showed the content on the screen. Someone actually made a wish to kill 10 policemen in a cruel way. How dare you hang this wish on a tree? Several people did not take this wish seriously. At this time, the old policeman in the passenger seat looked at the silent Officer Shiratori and asked with a smile. Officer Shiratori, you don't usually play with your mobile phone, so you probably don't know about this interesting software, right? Officer Shiradio, who was driving, was silent for a moment, shook his head slightly, and said 3 times, no time, no interest, no fun. But this moment. In his mind, he recalled the cause of all this. Not long ago, he wrote a sentence on the praying tree. I want to find Shiratori Kazuki. It is precisely because after writing this sentence, for some reason, the last senior police detective responsible for the series of disappearances became ill and was hospitalized. The superiors asked him to take charge of this matter, including the case of Shiratori Kazuki. Then you have to play around. I have done a lot of tasks on the software before and sent some small gifts to many wishmakers. Then a few days ago, out of curiosity, I made a wish on it. I want to have a young and beautiful girlfriend. Guess what? When the others heard this, they were overflowing with curiosity and asked questions one after another. The veteran police officer sitting in the passenger seat said with a proud face, 2 days ago, a girl suddenly added me online, saying that she had secretly admired me for a long time, and that she wanted to surprise me in the most unexpected way. He. I'm jealous. The others immediately gave the old driver a thumbs up. Etc. Officer Shiradio suddenly remembered something and frowned. You just said that someone hung the mission of kill the police on the prayer tree. Yes. Last night, 6 colleagues died in the incident at the police station. Haha, Officer Shiratori, you don't want to say that we happen to have 4 people in the car, do you? Right now. Officer Shiratori glanced at the rearview mirror and was about to say something. In the rearview mirror, a pale-faced girl with short hair, at some point, sat between the 2 police officers in the back row. She slowly raised her head, smiled slyly at Officer Shiratori, and made a mouth gesture that sounded like she was talking about something. Kanban wa. There was no white of the eyes around those pitch-black pupils, just a deep black like ink. EY-. The police car that was driving on the viaduct at high speed suddenly swerved, crashed through the guardrail without warning, and fell under the bridge. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 549. Kanzaki Middle School. Animal Laboratory. Woof 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 woof. Woof woof. Woof woof woof. A group of graceful dogs, trapped in a cage, barked from time to time to communicate with each other. Suck. Goza straightened his expression and wiped away the drool dripping from the corner of his mouth. Don't talk nonsense. It's a normal physiological phenomenon for a dog to drool and it doesn't mean anything. Thank you, teacher. Goodbye, teacher. See you tomorrow, teacher. After finishing this biology class, a group of well-behaved students said goodbye to the new biology teacher Okino Yoko on the podium. At this time, there was a boy who was quite handsome, but compared with the new drama teacher Kimura Nagage, who was far behind. After the other students left the podium, he finally plucked up the courage to walk up to the podium and said something to Chong, who was packing up the teaching materials. No, Yoko, blushing slightly, carefully holding a pink envelope in her hands as if holding a treasure, whispered to Okino Yoko. Oki-sensei, ah no, Okino-sensei, I. The boy was extremely nervous, spoke incoherently, and stammered the opening remarks that he had been preparing for a long time. Okino Yoko smiled slightly. Roll. The little boy's face froze, tears welling up in his eyes. Are you deaf? Okino Yoko's smile became even brighter. I say it again, get out. Immediately, instantly, get out. The little boy hid his face and ran wildly, staggering out of the biology classroom, crying so loudly. After everyone had left, Okino Yoko stared at a room full of dogs of various breeds. Those green eyes somehow made her feel a little scared. Her name is Wang Yang. Today is the second day after she successfully sneaked into Kanzaki Middle School, but she still has no clue about the second main task. In the past 2 days, she had been facing a room full of dogs and a group of silly students, which made her feel like an ant, restless and eager to find something to vent her anger. Wang Yang always felt that the eyes of these dogs were strange. Especially one of the dogs, with a particularly lewd smile, stared at Wang Yang with its green eyes, and Wang Yang couldn't help but feel palpitations in his heart. Click. Chiang. Call. Wang Yang skillfully took out a thin lady's cigarette, lit it with a kerosene lighter, sat down on the desk, crossed his legs, and swayed his thighs wearing fishnet stockings, and his white flesh was as smooth and tender as the fishnet mesh. It is glowing with water and very attractive. Anyway, there was no one around, so Wang Yang's behavior was a bit unrestrained, so it didn't matter. Call. Wang Yang puffed out smoke rings skillfully, lowered his head to think, and said to himself. The information over there has come out. The identity of each of us should correspond to a disappearance case. In essence, these disappearance cases should be related to each other and may eventually lead to the same ending. I hate this kind of mystery the most. It's a weird trial. If I had known better, I wouldn't have chosen the eternal night level. Wang Yang casually popped the half-lit cigarette out the window and looked at the dim dusk outside the window. The school buildings were dyed with a gorgeous golden rim under the glow of the sunset. One member of the team named Kudo has already died. It seems that even if it's just the second main mission, if you're not careful, you're likely to exit early. Oh, damn the tower, damn the trial. Wang Yang looked at the various furry dogs in the cage, with a trace of impatience flashing in his eyes. If it hadn't been for the obvious reminder to be careful in your words and deeds in the initial trial prompts, she would have killed these dogs that exuded disgusting smells one by one. Why bother to keep them until now? In the corner of the biology teaching and research room, there is an empty dog cage. Looking at the dog cage, Wang Yang looked unhappy. Everyone else is looking for the missing person, but I won't look for the missing dog, right? It's not that outrageous. It seems that I still have to arrange it. Looking for clues in that house, it is very likely that the previous owner of the house was one of the missing persons. Thinking of this, Wang Yang stuck his butt out and jumped off the desk. She patted the wrinkles on her skirt calmly, and accidentally saw the love letter that had fallen to the ground at some point. With an expressionless face, she stepped on it and left the classroom with all the dogs paying attention. In an empty classroom, only a group of dogs were left looking at each other. Woof woof woof. I see. Wang Tiandi clapped his fists and suddenly realized. It has been petting the dog for the past 2 days and has no intention of investigating. Unexpectedly, it took no effort at all. Wang Yang's soliloquy was heard by Emperor Wang Tian, who roughly understood what was going on from Wang Yang's few words. Emperor Wang Tian, go out. Wang Tiandi had just grabbed the steel pipe of the dog cage with his 2 paws. When he was about to take action, there was a slight movement outside. The dog's ears twitched and he quickly let go. He sat in the cage, sticking out his tongue and exhaling, pretending to be an ordinary dog again. Son. Unexpectedly, it was the little boy who sent the love letter who came back. The heartbroken little boy walked towards the love letter on the ground with a blank expression and held it carefully in his hands. The boy knelt on the ground, holding a love letter in his hand. He remained in this position for an unknown length of time. Wang Tiandi, who was in the cage far away, almost had a smile on his face. Ha 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 ha. The boy suddenly burst out laughing. A hairspray hand combed his hair back, tore the love letter into pieces, and stomped on the pieces with his feet until they were dead. While stepping on it, the boy cursed in a vague tone. Bitch. Dog day. Emperor Wang Tian. K. Go to hell. Go to hell. Die. Go, die, 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 die. At the end of the scolding, the boy kept saying the word go to hell, which was very graphic. 10 minutes later. The dog finally waited until the boy finished venting his anger and left, then he easily bent the iron pillar and gracefully walked out of the dog cage, while throwing a few flirtatious glances at the bitches in other cages. Well. The treatment of humans and dogs cannot be generalized. Emperor Wang Tian suddenly sympathized with the little boy who became crazy after his confession failed. Woof. Wang Tiandi, who had been lying in the kennel for almost 2 days, finally saw the light of day again. He stretched out his waist and limbs, and his bones made a snapping sound. Wang Tiandi turned his head and saw that it was already dark outside the window. It seemed that it was a good time to act in the dark. Let's go. Wang Tiandi walked to the cage of the missing dog with a carefree step, and carefully distinguished the smell left in the cage. If you just want to find a missing dog, it is a simple task for the dog. The difficulty of convincing the little she-wolf was not the same as in the world of our Auranos. Wang Tiandi thought back to those days, recalled the past, and thought of the little she-wolf beside the moonlight forest. He couldn't help but stretch his paws behind his back, lightly hammer his waist, and sigh. After Wang Tiandi hammered the male dog's waist and left the biology teaching and research room. In the cage, many bitches whined softly, their eyes welling up with tears, and they cried so repressedly. Art classroom. Get out of class is over. The students left one after another. At the corridor, the students discussed the content in class with great interest. Teacher Muto seems to have changed into a different person. The paintings he drew during his demonstration were so full of soul that I felt like I was about to have an orgasm. Really? I feel the same way. It turns out that this is Teacher Muto's true strength. But I don't know why, but Mr. Muto seems to be particularly concerned about that annoying Kinhui. Which Chiat? Well, it's the Kinhui who looks lifeless all day long, and her face looks like her parents are dead. Tisk, who is that nuisance? Why? That's right. Why do we respect Mr. Muto more than she does? I love every work of Mr. Muto. This kind of woman should die. Go to hell. Go to hell. Why don't we make a wish? Make a wish. Yes. But I don't have enough points. Such an exaggerated wish, the app must judge it as unfulfillable S-level, right? Giggle, it's just for fun, and I can't take it seriously. I'll send a message to that annoying Qian Hui to scare her. Yeah, scare her. Hush. Teacher Muto is out. And that annoying ghost Chiat. While the students were whispering in the corridor, Iron Muto and Chia Tanino walked out of the art class side by side. Chia-chan, shall I take you home? Muto Iron smiled softly. Yano Chia lowered her head, twisted her clothes uneasily, and whispered, okay. Hiss. The students who were quietly hiding in the corner and eavesdropping with their ears straightened up were stunned by the conversation between these two people. I hate it so much. Speaking of which, it actually doesn't matter who the new Mr. Muto favors, After all, he is not Kimura Nagage. But he chose the most annoying person in the world, Chia Tanino, to show favoritism? This is a bit outrageous. Women's emotions are mostly unclear and unclear. If Mr. Muto gets close to a beautiful girl, other girls will only tease Mr. Muto for his luck. But with Chia Tanino, doesn't this mean that these girls from Kanzaki Middle School, who have sweet looks and delicate voices and are easy to push down, are not even as good as Chia Tanino? The campus BBS exploded with blood. I heard that Chia Tanino is very close to the new art teacher. I heard that teacher Muto sends Chia Tanino home every day. Haha, isn't it, just her, why, to tablet A? Perhaps, Mr. Muto likes this kind of weak-looking girl, who can easily arouse men's desire for protection. That bitch Chia Tanino pretends to be melancholy, brooding, and withdrawn every day. I have long disliked her. Yes, just pretending to be good these past few years. Now the new teacher is here, and he comes out to show off his presence. It's so funny. This hypocritical woman should die. Yes, go to hell. Go, die, 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 die. Go to hell. Hee, no one cares about you even if you die. Maybe it's the same as the one from 5 years ago. SHH. Please don't mention that name upstairs. I heard that anyone who mentions that name will be in trouble. Yeah. Who did you listen to? Don't you know what happened a month ago? You mean the previous batch of teachers? Yes. When I accidentally passed by the principal's office, I heard him and his secretary crying and spilling the beans. Cry. Anyway, the shouting was quite loud. The principal's secretary sounded like she was crying. What did you say? The previous group of teachers said they went to a hot spring social event together. One of them drank too much, mentioned that name, and then. Say it. What happened then? Didn't you already know this? All dead, GGGG. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 550. The Other End. Su Jingjing followed the location sent by Li Chang'e and came to a luxurious villa. Su Jingjing took a breath of cool evening air. But the reason why she gasped was not because she was overwhelmed by the villa's character. But the moment she stepped into the villa, she also felt a disgusting smell rushing towards her face. Made her want to vomit. Fortunately, after staying in this world for 2 days, Su Anjing gradually adapted to the smell, and his reaction was not as strong as it was initially. Su Anjing stopped by the door, nose twitching, eyes closed and muttering to himself. Well, the smell is not as strong as in the bungalow. I can get out of the house without any damage, so it shouldn't be a big deal here. After a pause, Su Anjing walked forward and said as he walked. If there is really something weird hidden in it, the big star will be the first to die. It won't be my turn. Well, it won't be my turn. Thinking of this, Su Anjing immediately felt at ease. As soon as he saw Su Jingjing, Li Chang'e hurriedly came up to him with a cold sweat. Why are you here? Aren't I busy? Su Anjing shook his phone. By the way, let me tell you something. Our true identity is actually agents of a secret organization in Kanzaki City. This organization is called the Mysterious Incident Investigation Team. After I sent the information about the missing person to that number, the other party asked me to call it a day. Mysterious Incident Investigation Team. This sense of déjà vu made Li Chang'e have to complain with a dull face. Special team. You can understand it this way. In every trial, there are always some weird things. It's not surprising, Su Jingjing responded, and then stared at the big star wearing a bat cosplay in broad daylight with a strange look, and the corners of his mouth twitched. By the way, what are you doing wearing this damn thing? Didn't you just get off work? I secretly left early, Li Chang'e said confidently. Hiss, have you forgotten? Be careful in your words and deeds, so you are not afraid of getting into trouble. What are you afraid of? Li Chang'e subconsciously stroked his bangs, but forgot that he was wearing a mask. He failed to pretend, so he could only put his hands on his hips and said, I am handsome enough to do whatever I want. I said to the students in the class, the teacher wanted to go back early to prepare the content of the next class and let them study freely, and they all happily agreed. Before leaving, Li Chang'e chuckled and took out a stack of pink letters from the storage space. I also received a lot of love letters. Ah, girlish feelings are always poetry. Su Anjing covered his face tightly. She didn't know why, but she suddenly had the urge to shoot the coquettish thing in front of her into a hornet's nest with an arrow. She wondered if other people had had similar thoughts. When he released the hand covering his face, Su Jingjing's expression had returned to its usual calmness, showing no joy or sorrow, and said, let's get down to business. The boss is not here, and I don't know who to consult with. It's just you. Help me find out what's going on. The two simply chatted as teammates and then got down to business. Su Jingjing didn't know why Li Chang'e shouted for help impatiently. Although she wished that Li Chang'e would do something and learn a lesson, as a member of the same team, if Li Chang'e really became cold, it would be equivalent to suffering a loss for the strength of the entire team. It was severely weakened from 1 to 0.999, so Su Anjing could only bite the bullet and come here to see if he could be of any help. 2 minutes later, Li Chang'e followed Su Jingjing and pointed in the direction to the bathroom on the first floor of the villa. In. Li Chang'e pointed at the ajar door from a distance. Su Anjing took a look, subconsciously pulled out the longbow, and said with a cold expression, there is a problem. What? Li Chang'e was stunned. You didn't even get in and you saw the problem? Real or fake? Su Anjing's right hand shook out the afterimage, 2 arrows were placed on the string, and he said with a vigilant expression, did you come in just now? No, I plan to wait until you arrive before we go in together, for fear of damaging the scene. That's right, since President Yilin is not here, Su Jingjing can only bite the bullet and pretend to be a mental analysis when something happens, and slowly said, the door is closed. From last night to now, you haven't come in yet, but the lights inside are on, which means. No, Li Chang'e added weakly, that's because I didn't turn off the light. I haven't dared to turn off the light from last night to now. The air in the villa became quiet for a moment. Forget it, it's not important. Su Jingjing wanted to shoot the arrow in Li Chang'e's face, but as he spoke, he smoothed things over to avoid embarrassment. It stinks. When Su Anjing approached the bathroom, she subconsciously covered her mouth and nose. This time, the stinky thing she talks about is not the kind of stinky that comes from the innate ability of blood and can judge good and evil based on smell and color. But at this moment, the bathroom really smelled like something rotten, causing Su Anjing's footsteps to pause for a moment. But after all, she is also a veteran and has seen many battles. After a brief pause, Su Anjing walked in silently. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. As soon as he entered, Su Anjing's eyes were frightened by the turbid sewage filling the bathtub, and his scalp went numb. The bathtub was filled with water, but the water was not serious. Under the light, there was a faint copper-green color, and there were some white flowers floating on the water. The most conspicuous thing is that among the broken pieces of white flowers, there is a white bead rolling up and down with the ripples of the water. Due to excessive soaking, the surface of the bead has a layer of wrinkles that is difficult to detect with the naked eye. When Su Anjing was staring at the white bead, the bead happened to turn at an angle, and the pupils that had long lost their luster turned around, as if they were looking at Su Anjing. Ah! Bo! Laugh! Su Anjing shot an arrow and hit the bullseye. Su Anjing screamed and shot arrows at the same time, but his hand speed was much faster than that of ordinary people who didn't scream. As soon as Li Chang'e heard the screams, he rushed in to see what was going on, but he saw that the eyeball that had been soaked for an unknown amount of time was pierced by an arrow and nailed to the edge of the bathtub. In fact, the tail feathers of the wooden arrow were still shaking violently. "Big Star, I'm going to kill you." Su Jingjing drew his bow angrily, and the tip of the arrow was aimed at Li Chang'e's nose. "Calm down, calm down, calm down. Too anxious, forget. For the sake of teammates and the guild." Su Jingjing once again suppressed the thought of shooting this scumbag to death with an arrow. I don't know why, but after she came to this world, her temper became worse and worse, and she was even afraid of herself when she was impulsive. After cautiously exiting the bathroom, Su Jingjing immediately asked for details of the whole incident. Li Chang'e didn't dare to hide anything or make things even more jealous, and immediately explained the strange things after moving in. Hair. Minced meat. Eyeball. Su Jingjing was in the bright hall, but she always felt that the villa was eerie, and she didn't dare to put away her weapons, so the two of them gathered around the table to discuss. "Is the president still unable to be contacted?" Li Chang'e asked. Su Jingjing was speechless. "You are a teacher in school and a colleague of the president, and you ask me where the president is who is outside the school? Are you kidding me? Didn't I look for it? How many buildings away is it? How could I just rush up there casually? You have to know that I am not an ordinary person now." Li Chang'e took out the thick stack of love letters again and wrote in. Su Jingjing's eyes kept shaking. "I have become a public figure here. If I appear casually, it will cause a sensation. If chaos breaks out, it will not be good for everyone." Click. Under the table, Su Jingjing crushed another arrow without expression. "This is already the third post after we sat down to discuss it. What a waste of arrows. Li Chang'e, I promise to call you Jingjing the Arrow Man." Su Anjing silently sent another string of messages to Yilin. But just like last night, there was no reply. It is currently the 12th hour since the president of Apocalypse Guild has lost contact. Su Jingjing felt a little uneasy. Generally speaking, it is impossible for Yilin not to reply. This isn't harassment. Regarding the trial, Yilin was more concerned about it than anyone else. But why didn't he reply? If it weren't for the name Yilin still brightly lit in the communication list, Su Anjing might have thought that the grass on his president's grave had begun to grow. Forget it, the president may be busy. Su Jingjing took a deep breath. In the panic, he tried his best to calm down. He first analyzed the incident on Li Chang'e's side and then said, "This is actually very obvious to you. I'm afraid someone might not have cut the body into pieces. Right?" Then he rushed into the sewer. When Li Chang'e heard this, although a delicate girl said the word dismembered corpse with a calm face, this scene gave Li Chang'e a strange feeling, but Li Chang'e didn't feel too surprised. After going through trials again and again, he was actually not afraid of elements such as corpses, murder, and blood. What he was afraid of were the weirder and more intangible things. Li Chang'e was still wearing a batsuit and did not dare to take it off, saying, "I understand everything you said, but don't forget, that pipe is for bathing. I specifically asked the neighbor next to me, by the way. The neighbor is a pretty young widow, tisk tisk, old age is miserable." While Li Chang'e was talking, he suddenly felt murderous intent coming from around him. Knowing that he had gone off topic again, he coughed twice and changed his words. "I mean, I have confirmed that the female neighbor's water pipes are smooth. There are no problems like water leakage or broken corpses. Do you think it's weird? But there are broken corpses emerging from the water pipes in this villa? How dare you say it's not weird?" Li Chang'e's words also made Su Jingjing's back feel cold. At the same time, she also discovered that the big star was not useless. At least he knew how to go to his neighbor next door to confirm whether the neighbor's water pipe was unblocked before asking for help. thus, his, etc. Su Anjing suddenly had an idea in his mind, lowered his head, and murmured to himself, I almost forgot, we are in a certain city in 2025. Not in our time. What do you mean? Li Chang'e didn't react for a moment. On the roof of your building, Su Jingjing's eyes lit up, what is that bright iron bucket-like thing on the roof of your building? Is there something like an iron barrel on the roof of my house? Li Chang'e looked confused. Is this your home or mine? Why do I feel like you are more familiar with it than me? Su Jingjing walked directly outside the house without saying a word. Without caring about the shock, he jumped up to the top floor with a slight jump. Her voice came from high up. Reservoir. In this era, it is still popular to have a reservoir in the villas of rich people. Your home's water pipes are a unique system. All water flows through the reservoir before flowing into this villa. In all the pipes. As he spoke, Su Anjing quickly reached the edge of the reservoir and unscrewed the lid with force. In an instant, a fishy smell that had been stored for an unknown period of time rose into the sky. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 551. Outside Yano's house. Teacher Muto, then, I'm going home. Yilin smiled and looked at Yano Jie, stroking Yano Jie's hair. Kina-chan, are you unhappy? Yano Jie's slightly pale lips trembled slightly. But after a while, Yano Jie shook her head vigorously. Teacher, don't worry, Jie will be fine. Strong kid. Yilin smiled and praised Jianhui, then turned around and left a message, if you have any unhappy things, remember not to keep it in your heart. It will make you feel better if you tell her. Okay, Mr. Muto. Correct. Muto Iron suddenly turned his head and raised a finger towards Yano Jie, your painting is very special. Can you draw another one for the teacher tomorrow? When Jie Yano heard this, she was slightly startled, then nodded like a chicken pecking at rice, hugged the skull bag in her arms tightly, and said with a bright smile, okay. Teacher Muto. After saying that, Yano Jie returned home in a hurry. What are you doing? After Yilin said goodbye to Yano Kina, she walked alone on the road. At the end of the three-way intersection ahead, Mai Ota held the knife in her hand and shot towards Yilin with cold eyes like lightning and dew. Yilin tilted her head and thought for a moment, as if thinking. After a moment, Yilin laughed happily, do the mission. Ota Mai frowned, stared into Yilin's eyes, and looked into her eyes. Yilin didn't look away, just smiled, what's wrong? After a while, Ota Mai shook her head and stopped dwelling on this matter. Since Yilin said she was doing a mission, she must be doing a mission. Why don't you reply? Yilin smiled and said, Jingjing has a clue there, right? Yes. Let's go and have a look. I hope they won't be scared to death. Yilin and Ota Mai arrived at Kimura Changa's villa. The two of them were sitting in the yard at this time, waiting for their arrival. When the four members of the team reunited, Su Jingjing and Li Chang'e visibly breathed a sigh of relief. When Yilin saw Li Chang'e, she frowned slightly, what are you doing dressed like this? Be patient, work hard. Li Chang'e stood up from the lawn that had not been mowed for a long time. Only then did everyone see clearly that there was actually an 8 directions invincible sword pressed under Li Chang'e's butt. As expected of you. Yilin sighed. Sure, safe, safe. Li Chang'e smiled coquettishly, and soon with his shamelessness, his expression returned to its original state, and he smiled proudly, I have solved the disappearance case. Am I awesome? I broke it, okay. Su Jingjing wished he could kill this shameless person with one arrow. Do you really want to kill this shameless guy with one arrow? Yilin looked at Su Jingjing and expressed her innermost thoughts. Su Jingjing was dumbfounded when he heard this, oh, can you read my mind? How do you know what I'm thinking? Li Chang'e. Yilin smiled and shook her head, then her eyes narrowed and she looked up at the water tank at the highest point of the villa. Before Su Jingjing and Li Chang'e could explain their case-solving process, Yilin pointed there thoughtfully and said slowly, "I'll go up and take a look." Su Jingjing and Li Chang'e stared at each other with wide eyes. Yilin floated up and came to the rooftop alone. Oda Mai didn't have much interest in anything other than killing people, and she didn't bother to follow, so she stayed where she was. The lid of the reservoir has already been opened. A strong fishy smell emanated. I don't know how long the contents inside have been stored in the cellar. Among the stench, there is even a faint strange smell, which seems to be strong alcohol or stinky tofu. All in all, it's a slightly overpowering smell. Yilin stretched out her head and looked inside. Downstairs. Su Jingjing suddenly smiled sinisterly. I suddenly looked forward to how the president would react when he saw that disgusting thing. I bet 100 DP. The boss looks calm on the surface, but he is panicking in his heart. Li Chang'e stroked the Shifang invincible sword with a calm expression on his face. TCH, I bet the president will be shocked. At the very least, his eyes will change. This cannot escape my eyes. Then it's a bet. The boss can't tell on the surface. Li Chang'e made a decisive bet. Anyway, it's just 100, drizzle. I bet 1000 that the president's legs will go weak. At this time, winning or losing doesn't matter. The important thing is that when it comes to bets, you must not be outmatched by a scumbag celebrity. At this time, my Oda, who had been silent all this time, interrupted. 10,000, he will laugh. After Oda Wu finished speaking, she raised her head and stared high at Yilin's side face. Hiss. You don't even know what's hidden inside, how do you know the president will laugh? Su Jingjing was extremely puzzled. Oda Mai shook her head without explaining. On the rooftop, Yilin floated in the air, without touching the ground, and poked her head inside. The fishy water was filled with white minced meat, and there were fat white maggots, wrapped in lumps, squirming among the minced meat on the surface of the water. When Yilin's head popped out, the maggots curled up into a ball were disturbed, causing ripples and rolling in the reservoir. Amidst the tumbling of maggots, a face that had been soaked into white dough, without eyes, ears, mouth, and nose, floated up. Yilin looked at the terrifying scene in the reservoir that made Su Jingjing and Li Chang'e so frightened that they suffered from morning sickness, but remained silent for several seconds. After a few seconds, Yilin smiled. I see. Oda Mai breathed a sigh of relief. Grass. Su Anjing smelled the stench in the air, which was caused by both mental and physical torture, making her feel sick. But at this moment, Su Anjing couldn't help but vomit it out. Looking at Yilin, who was staring at the vat of aged meat on the rooftop with a cold smile, she couldn't help but shudder. But the shiver came and went quickly. Before Su Jingjing could figure out why he was trembling, the trembling of his body stopped on its own, as if he was shivering out of nowhere. Wait a minute, how do you know the president will laugh? Oda Mai did not explain why. His eyes were fixed on Yilin's figure floating in the air. When Yilin returned, Su Jingjing and Li Chang'e shut up at the same time, not daring to say anything. The secret bet just now became a voiceover and I didn't dare to mention it again. This guy can laugh at that piece of meat, what else can't he do? It's scary just thinking about it. Yilin looked at the three people in front of him and said with a smile, what's wrong? Seeing that the three of them were silent, Yilin said to herself, it's within an acceptable range. The body was broken into pieces and hidden in the reservoir. But did you find a problem? Yilin said, showing his strong white teeth. Su Jingjing and Li Chang'e were of rare common ground and shook their heads at the same time, making a crackling sound on their necks. Have no idea. We don't know anything. Oda Mai would never express any opinions in this kind of puzzle-solving session, and Yilin did not ask her, closed her eyes, and continued, it has been so long since this disappearance case. Logically speaking, the police have already researched it inside and out, it's impossible not to check a target as big as the reservoir. Hearing this, Li Chang'e and Su Jingjing were both stunned. They already felt pretty awesome when they found out the truth about the disappearance. But Yilin only took one look and already started to explore the deeper truth hidden behind the truth. Do you still remember that diary? Ga, that one? Yes, Yilin nodded. The place where the diary was placed is not considered hidden. You only went there once and found the diary easily. The design of the dark cabinet beside the bed is actually very popular. Whether it was the police or other people who searched the house, why didn't they dig out the diary, but why did they find you? Hiss. Su Jingjing suddenly took a breath of cold air. She recalled that night in the archives of Kanzaki Middle School. The hand that handed Gaijimimi's file to her. After thinking about it carefully, I felt a chill, which went straight to Su Jingjing's Tianling Gai, and then turned back from Tianling Gai to Ju, going through a cycle, making the chill penetrate his heart and lungs. Su Jingjing was stunned and whispered, "You mean, I was targeted by that weird thing? To be precise, you should be targeted." At this time, Oda Mai frowned subconsciously. Yilin smiled disapprovingly and continued, "Actually, this is a very simple deception." He pointed a finger at Su Anjing's eyes. In Su Anjing's sight, Yilin's finger and the arm just covered one of Yilin's eyes. If you want to cover my whole body, it will look very abrupt. But if you only cover one point, you will only realize that you are being pointed out by me, but you will not notice that there is actually another thing I want to hide. After saying that, Yilin moved the finger pointing at Su Jingjing's eyes. Su Jingjing discovered that Yilin had quietly closed her eyes when he stretched out his finger to scare her. Su Jingjing seemed to understand Yilin's metaphor of stream of consciousness. But at this time, if you don't understand, you will probably be crushed in terms of IQ, so Su Anjing slapped his thigh, suddenly realized, imitating Yilin's mantra, and said loudly, "That's it. Just understand, let's go." Yilin showed an expression of joy and joy. Where to go? Everyone else was confused. Why do you feel like the president is acting weird today, more pretentious than usual? Go to your home. Yilin smiled and pointed at Su Jingjing. My home. When Su Jingjing heard this, he was instantly relieved. She remembered that there was another one at home, a realistic doll. At night. Kanzaki City. Busy people end their day's work and enter into the colorful nightlife. In Kanzaki City, in the bar district, some people are happy and some are crazy, some are sober and some are drunk, some are holding girls in their arms and some are in pairs. A drunkard walked out of the bar alone on his way home. Hiccup, vomit. The drunkard opened his clothes, lay down against the wall, scratched his throat and vomited most of the cheap beer. When he was blown by the cool breeze from the depths of the alley, he shuddered and suddenly sobered up a lot. Hiccup, where is this? The drunkard squinted his eyes, staggered, and held onto the wall, not knowing where he was going. Unconsciously, he walked into a remote alley, which is the old town of Kanzaki City. Most informal bars are opened around here. So much so that the order around here is chaotic, and many brave people like to come to this place to seek excitement that is rarely seen in ordinary times, so as to release the repression and ferocious beasts in the body. Not far away, there is a figure leaning against the wall, rising and falling directly in front of the wall, stirring constantly. Yo! The drunkard's blurred eyes suddenly lit up, and the flames burned brightly. He smiled and stepped forward. Brother, Hiccup, I know how to play. Hiccup, it's better to choose a day than to hit the sun, and to meet by chance is worse than to meet by chance. I think I can. It's better to be like this, such as. In his days, he thought someone was holding the beauty on his head and doing the exercises he imagined. But the reality is somewhat different from the drunkard's imagination. The figure with its back to him was sensational, but it seemed that it was really facing the wall, and there was no beautiful woman. The man was tapped on the shoulder and paused. The next second, he turned his head, his eyes blank, and a hoarse voice squeezed out from between his teeth. "I feel so much pain, ha, ha. Good. Pain.